Welcome to the Hustle or Bust podcast powered by PAVERART. Our mission is simple: to dive deep into the world of entrepreneurship, small business, and all the success, struggle, and challenges that need to be confronted in the pursuit of growth. We celebrate the entrepreneurial spirit, but perhaps most important, we want you to learn at least one idea that you can put into action immediately to make your investment in time worthwhile.
2 years ago, we had our friends from Techo Bloc, a leader in the outdoor living industry, on the Hustle or Bust podcast. On that episode, there was one thing that really stood out: that the contracting world is the number 2 most failed business in America. When you look at PAVERART and a company like Techo Bloc, we have one thing in common. We are both completely reliant on having a growing and thriving contractor community. So on this episode, Ryan and Paver Pete come back to talk about some ways to make that happen. How do you build a growing and thriving contractor community? We hope you enjoy this podcast and like and subscribe for more episodes.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Hustle or Bust podcast powered by PAVERART. That's Mark Olivito. I'm Mike Bull. I guess you could call this where the old school meets the new school. And today we've got some very interesting visitors that have been here before, and this is the first time we've actually done a second podcast with the same pair. The first pod went so well we decided we wanted to do it again. With us today is Pete Balagaloo, Paver Pete known in the industry, and Ryan Ravalli, Regional and Territory Manager for Techo Bloc, both working for Techo Bloc. Welcome, guys.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Nice to have you. Very, very nice to have you. Mark and I have put together some questions in regards to the economy, in regards to the Techo business, in regards to hardscapers and landscapers that you folks deal with every day, and we try to tie this into an entrepreneurial type of discussion, if at all possible. But one of the things I noticed was, I thought this was interesting. You're going to be at Pantano's tonight, are you not?
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And
that's hardscape distributors.
And Pantano is, I believe, Techo Bloc's largest distributor.
Yes.
By a lot.
Yes.
Okay, and that would happen to be your account.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Independent distributor. Yeah, not big national chain.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. When we've done some work with them, quoting us on Techo Bloc materials. So we're familiar with them. Good people, by the way. Really just
great family.
Great people to deal and do business with. Now, I was just curious, the topic or the subject that you're going to be talking about tonight is entitled The Hardscape Gap to Winning and Moving Forward. You've got to explain that. What exactly is it that they're referring to when they use that title?
Now, who are we speaking for, though? We're speaking at Pantano.
Yes.
But we're speaking for.
To Contractors.
But who's sponsoring it?
The NJNLA.
Okay, so this is an industry trade association.
The NJNLA.
Yes.
Okay.
And we write articles. He does and I do, and they publish them, and they get published nationally as well. But Techo Bloc and us, Hardscape Social and myself, Paver Pete, anytime we can partner with these associations in speaking engagements and writing articles and doing tabletop events, we do, because we're trying to elevate the level of professionalism of our industry. And those kinds of associations, our company, and we feel very strongly that it does that. So We're proud to partner with Pantano. Obviously, Techo Bloc is our employer and says, hey, this is important. It's an industry trade association, and we need to be a part of it. The Go for the Gap comes from Senna, the most famous, and Arian Senna is one of the most famous and maybe the best race car driver of all time. He died in a car crash, God rest his soul.
Formula One, I believe.
Formula One, yeah. And his philosophy was go for the gap. He never was willing to accept, even from his own teammates, when he raced for Ferrari or McLaren or whoever he raced for. He never would even accept that one of his teammates would beat him in a race. He would, if he saw the gap and an opportunity to win, his feeling as a professional was to go for the win. Not, this isn't a team sport. This is, I'm in a car and my job is to win. And he never backed down from that. And he had a philosophy of faith. He kept his faith front and center. Some people felt that was a detriment to his driving because he knew that there was a better life after. So he wasn't afraid, and that faith. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I think faith is important.
That'll be part of your discussion?
Oh, yeah. When you're growing a business, I think whatever it is that you believe that you're behind it 100% with your wallet giving. I think I wish somebody would have told me when I was younger that the more I give, the more I'll get. I think I'd be wealthier now if someone would have told me that. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about building a team. Senna had a great team of pit crew and admin people around him that made him a success. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about technologies. Techo Bloc's come out with a new mechanically laid, our number one best-selling product, Blue 60, so now it can be mechanically laid. So we're automating the installation of our number one best-selling product. So you can still lay it by hand. You can lay it with just regular mechanical lifting devices or vacuum backpacks or whatever. But
suction equipment.
Or you can get a machine that picks up and lays layers at a time.
Nice.
So, you can lay, I think we did this for our showcase, which is coming up. We laid about 1,000 square feet in 2 hours. So it really changes the game when you're talking large patios, large plaza areas, not just bringing the material closer to the laying face, but actually putting it in the ground and weaving it together. So being able to move just 2 units and all of a sudden there's no pattern to it at all.
No four corners.
No 4 corners either. So it's
Interesting.
really cool. So we're going to talk about that too, because Senna changed cars as technologies changed. If the crew that he was on wasn't keeping up with the times, then he would go to another team and race for that team and continue to win, and is one of the winningest drivers of all time. So we're gonna look at the 5 things that made Senna maybe arguably the greatest race car driver of all time, and we're gonna apply that to how do we automate, how do we build faith, how do we have a clear mission and vision, like he said, go for the gap. I'm built to win is one of his famous saying. I mean, they have books on Senna. They call him the racing messiah. I'm not really fond of that phrase, but still, I mean,
But it sounds apropos.
yeah, it does. How do we take some of the lessons from one of my philosophies is if you want to be great, study greatness. I read a lot about history and economics and politics and religion, and so if you want to be great, study greatness. And if he's the greatest race car, arguably, of all time, then we should know something about how did he do that? What was his philosophy?
Gotcha.
How did he apply it to win? And we're going to talk about that tonight.
Well, you must be talking about it for a long time because it looks like it's scheduled for between 4:30 and 8. So you're doing that. You're doing this morning.
Yeah.
And then you're going to drive down to.
We're going to drive towards Pantano's, and then we'll get up there eventually today, probably around 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you're going to do your thing.
Yeah.
And I've seen you do your thing. I mean, you put on a great show. But
Thank you.
And then you're going to. Oh, you're welcome. But you're going to do that too. That's a long day for you.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll probably speak for a couple of hours is my thought. So we'll probably start about 5:30 or 6, and then they'll eventually tell me to stop talking. I get fired up. To me, and I'm in that position. I'm the director of education and information for Techo Bloc.
Right.
I have an opportunity to sit in front of an audience and get them to think differently about a subject. Like how many landscape contractors, hardscape contractors that have a written mission and vision statement for their company and can recite it for you. And why that's so important, because then all of a sudden you get into, it's like going to a bad meeting. There's meeting creep. Like somebody brings up another topic. Oh, that's interesting. And someone else brings up another topic. Oh, that's interesting. And then what was this meeting about again? I can't remember. We want to avoid that in our business. everybody in the company, it should be on the trailers, it should be, in our uniforms, it should be everywhere that this is our mission as a company.
Right.
Techo Bloc bringing modern style to hardscape construction and landscape design is our mission, right? And you see the products. I know you guys did another great paver for me. Thank you very much for my church. I appreciate it. That look, as soon as you guys saw it, like, wow, look, this is something. And that clean, modern look is what, Techo Bloc is trying to push, the hardscape industry forward that way. People can expand their living space to include the outdoor space.
When you guys were here last time, you brought up a great stat that I probably have recited, 5 times on different podcasts.
I think it's 3 times a week I hear it from you.
Yeah, it's behind restaurants. I believe you said contracting is the number 2 most failed business in America.
Yeah.
So in those 2 years, have we made progress? Still the number 2 most failed business, you think?
No progress.
No progress. Now, why is that?
Well, I think, go for the gap right away. I mean, we got to have a clear mission and vision. We have to have faith. We have to be charitable and kind, and our company and our team has to be involved in it. We have to build people, right? You have to have a team. Like, what are you doing to build people? Are you going to? We just got done at H&A. We had a big booth at H&A, inside and outside, and me and Ryan and Rick. I mean, how many times did we build a retaining wall and take it down at H&A outside?
Every 30 minutes.
Oh, 100 times. It was.
You're kidding.
We just built it and took it down. People walk up like, well, why is the pipe going there? Great question. Let's back up.
Right.
If the pipe placement changes, then the base changes. And that's why this price would be 25 and this one would be 35. And, we go back to it and then we take it down and someone turn the corner like, what's that? Hold on a second. We start building the wall again. But you got to bring your people there. You got to come to our showcase events. And yes, we are Techo Bloc and it's a hardscaper. It's our education platform that sponsors this event. But yeah, we're going to obviously be talking about our products, and we're going to be using our products in and around a plunge pool and a sauna and cold plunge and a heated yoga deck, just to give you a little insight into the health and wellness theme of this year's event. Yes, we're using our products, but you're going to come out of there with an understanding of infrared heat. You're going to be coming out of there with an understanding of the health benefits of saunas, and that if the hardscape industry and the landscape industry isn't pushing saunas to people, who is going to? Because you got a barrel sauna that you can do yoga in, like you can exercise and stretch inside of it, and be in there for 1 hour. It will change your health for your whole life. It will extend your life. But as a homeowner, how am I going to buy a barrel sauna? How am I going to get it in the backyard? Who's going to build a platform for it to sit on? How am I going to safely ambulate summer, winter, fall, winter specifically in the Northeast, right, to that sauna and back? And now we went and met with snowmelting.ca up in Canada and got set up with an app on our phone that we can have heated pavement rapid heat. There's a rapid heat option. So it's not just to melt snow. It's that I want to get to my sauna in the winter, and I want to do it in my Crocs. I don't want to have to put snow boots on to do it or freeze my butt off. I can now, and even more than that, if it's a mild day in the fall or winter, depending on where you live, you can literally get on that Borealis heated yoga deck and do your exercises right there in front of the sauna, and then take a sauna after or a cold plunge after, and it's better for your body. It's better for your health.
You actually have a picture of this on your website.
Well, let me poke at this a little bit if I can.
Yeah.
So contracting, number 2 most failed business. You said a lot there. You had team mission, vision, team building, product innovation, consumer trend. Let's start at the basics. In the world of hardscaping, are these typically landscapers that go into hardscaping that become their own business owner or want to expand?
Yes, traditionally.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you'd agree.
You were a contractor at one point, were you not?
Landscapers.
No, I was a business management degree I got from Del Val.
Got it.
So, but I worked
Working
in
with
the
big
industry.
box stores and
Yeah.
stuff.
So let's take the base level contractor, the guy that's starting his own, or gal, that's starting their own business. Do you think that most of them came from the landscaping side?
Most
Yeah.
of them started landscaping, mowing first, plantings, and then wanting to get into hardscape, design, build, and then ultimately the dream for these people mostly is to get out of all the other things, just do design, build.
Got it.
So
And then where does it go off the track, where the failure becomes? Is it lack of business knowledge, or business education, or is it not getting out of the doing and into the managerial aspect of it? What are some of the things where it goes wrong and it becomes that high risk business?
Probably the money, the whole,
Capital management?
Capital management, of their assets and not bidding jobs the right way, pricing out jobs. I mean, using programs L&M and other companies out there synced up to help
Aspire, Blue Claw.
Help people know what their cost is. So I mean, and there's nowadays look at good contractors. They're complaining about all these other contractors out there that are telling them how these people are how are they doing it for so cheap.
Sure.
And the quality of work's not going to be there, but the people that are getting those jobs aren't making the money to grow themselves either.
Now, because your Techo showcase is all geared around education.
That's it.
Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I know it's a hard thing to measure, but of all the contractors in the world, what percentage of them have gone to an educational event like the Techo Showcase?
Oh, either online through hardscaper.com or actually attended a showcase. It's in the hundreds of thousands.
Good.
This is our 19th year of doing it.
So you're having a big impact then.
Oh, it's
big reach.
It is a testament to the family that is Techo Bloc, that they have invested in growing the landscape and hardscape contracting community and helping them succeed and not backing down, even during the couple years that were weird there, a couple years back. We are still full ahead. We got to help people.
Awesome.
And we have great products, and I think that the family at Techo Bloc really feels that if we help people, they will reward us with purchases because we make the best products and the most modern and the most style. Let me back up 1 second.
Sure.
If you're a landscaper or a mason contractor or a general contractor or an asphalt contractor and you say hardscapes is appealing to me and you see the trend around the world that segmental pavements are the best pavements ever invented in world's history, dating back 3,500 years to the Greeks and the Romans and all that stuff. And permeable pavement is the best environmental solution to stormwater management, agricultural runoff management, and what was the third one? Agricultural runoff, stormwater runoff, snowmelt runoff. So the best solution to those. And then you look at segmental retaining walls and the fact that, in Israel, there's a 90-foot tall segmental retaining wall with geogrid and the whole 9 yards that will be up for the next 100-something years or 1,000 years or something like that. So a very long time. And you can take that same block and build a grill island, a little fire pit, a sitting wall in your backyard with the same block that was used to build a 90-foot tall soil reinforced structure.
Sure.
It really is amazing.
Sure.
Here's why there's the failures. You hit it right on the head. You missed one thing, but job pricing, for sure. We need to help them price jobs. How do you control your expenses? How do you bill per man hour? How do you recover the direct cost of producing the product?
Right.
What are the indirect costs of producing the product? Like porta potties, travel and tolls, supervision time, loading and unloading, all those little hidden engineering expenses, all those little hidden things that you need to recover. And then how do you make a margin, not markup? Margin on everything
Thank
embedded
you.
in, not a markup. So that's, then there's the accounting side of it, which is the QuickBooks, the Peachtree. So there's really two disciplines there, and you need to be an expert at both. So that's a tough one. I have a degree in accounting, and one of the classes I taught in Texas last week at WizQ Stone, a great distributor of hardscapes and natural stone products down in Fort Worth, Texas. And I taught that class and really yelled at people and said, listen, you're not making enough money. Your clients want you to make money so that you can be here in the future to do more work for them and to work for their friends and their family,
Right.
their neighbors and their congregation. And they want you to be successful. You can't just be living on that little margin. Number two, you're an expert in it, which is marketing. You have to generate leads. You have to generate the right type of person that wants to buy something that you do. Not any person, not someone who wants hardscaping, but someone who wants hardscaping with a sitting wall and a fire pit and a wood-fired oven. or a cold plunge, or a sauna, or a plunge pool, or whatever it might be, infrared heat, so they can extend their season and not be stuck inside watching TV, which is terrible and mind-numbing. So marketing, very important. Sales is the third one. You have to be able to, once marketing works, sales begin. So what is your pre-qualification technique? What is your qualification technique, or your ability to ask questions sitting at the table? How do you build rapport or trust? How do you build trust with people so that they're going to write you a check for $25 or $55 or $105,000? How do you do that? And then how do you help them learn the difference between poor quality installations you brought up and great quality installations? And we were just talking about it. Engraved units, you did an engraved paver, and you're telling me the differences. The reason I travel here from Ohio to get those engraved pavers from you guys is because it's going into my church, and I want it to be pristine. And
you want it to be there forever and always.
Yeah, forever and always. And I know the Techo Bloc Blue Grande that you engraved is going to be beautiful, and I know your engraving is going to be durable and beautiful, and that Bible verse was going to be impactful, I hope, to the Christian community there, the Orthodox community that I'm a part of. So, but that understanding the difference is the educate and inform phase of the sales cycle. And a lot of people really got to back up. Stop worrying about whether you're going to get the job or not. Educate the client using the Techo Spec Guide, using the catalog, using the website, using all these pictures and social media and all this stuff that you can use. And then the homeowner goes, where do I sign? Mm-hmm. You can stop talking now. Where do I sign? And then finally, and the assumption is that everybody's a great installer, right? The E-Myth series of books. I don't know if you guys read the E-Myth or the E-Myth Landscape Contractor Edition. But basically great installers who had an entrepreneurial fit and decided I'm going to start my own company. And now they got to be great at job pricing, marketing, selling, and installation.
Team building.
Team building, yeah. That is a difficult thing. And being great at installation and understand, we talked about synthetic bases like Gator base. That's an option on some jobs. Hybrid base, open graded stone, open graded bedding layer. Traditional dense grade sand set. Concrete overlays like around liner pools. Right. I mean, there's a lot of education that needs to be had for you, your project manager, your foreman, your leadman, your team, to stay on the cutting edge of, how do we get this sauna in the backyard? How do we get the electrical subcontractor to wire that infrared sauna up and run the heating to our infrared heat above and the heating element under the pavers so that we have this heated yoga? How do we make that's constant. So why is it the number 2 failed business in the United States? Well, this is a profession, that's a profession, this is a profession, that's a profession, and we're expecting you to be an expert at all 4. Oh, dear God. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Sure.
When in fact you may be an expert at one. And that's probably got something to do with the installation end of it, and knowing a little bit about the product that you're selling. Everything that you're talking about here is education. Mm-hmm. Everything that you've got here is education. And it appears as if Techo's got that knocked. So I would be remiss if I didn't say that. But
Thank you.
One thing I would say, too, and this is I think this is an interesting point. After 21 years since we started this business, I'm finally getting to do some building around my house, okay? And our backyard patio and our front walkway area is going to be done by a company called De Sabatino Landscaping, who will be hit up for a contribution for saying that. The
$25.
no, I've known Chris.
Every time we say their name.
Right. I've known Chris for a long time, and Chris also does business with us. Chris De Sabatino does business with us, and surprisingly enough, he's done it. The 2 jobs he's done with our product have been both for churches. Why did I go to him to do that? I didn't go to anybody else. I didn't price out anybody else. I didn't compare his pricing to somebody else's pricing. Chris De Sabatino has a reputation in the Newcastle County area of being the best hardscape, backyard, whatever it is that you're doing in Newcastle County. And I know this for a fact. I want to buy from him. I want him to do my job I will not quibble about the price because I know that when it comes time for me to sell my house, I'm going to tell the person, oh, by the way, that backyard patio, that deck, and that front walkway were all done by Chris DeSabatino. Oh, you had DeSabatino do that. Yeah, we had DeSabatino do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that reputation is what will actually
And Techo
help.
Bloc products, lifetime
That's which is
transferable
part of the
warranty, homeowner to homeowner forever. Meets
Exactly.
and exceeds all the world standards.
That's what's going to help sell the property.
And that's why he
Okay.
partners with us too.
And
Yeah.
at some point down the road, I'm going to have to do that, but that's going to be part of the write-up on my home. And that should be the goal that I think every installer should go for. Be able to get that kind of reputation in your area, and be that professional. And the only way you're going to do that, education and work like hell every day.
Yeah, he supplies the best value.
Yeah.
People know who he is,
Yep.
right? He has a brand.
Yep.
That's marketing. Branding is marketing.
Exactly.
You understanding the quality of his workmanship is sales. You said, I want to buy from him.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't say sell. He doesn't have to sell you on it.
No.
All he's got to do is help you pick your products and give you some guidance.
Correct.
And then you're going to write him a deposit check or
Yeah.
give him your credit card
That's
or
exactly
whatever.
right.
And then he's going to have a team that's educated, and they come to our showcases and are online with our hardscaper platform and industry, the Concrete Masonry Hardscape Association industry certification. So I know their team is certified to within all those different. I'm an instructor for that group, so I know that. So you put those four things together. Is he in the percentage of contractors that goes out of business? No,
Probably not.
He's probably in that realm, and we're heading towards an economic boom right now, is my forecast as a shade tree economist and a student of Thomas Sowell's, great economist, and a gift to our country. But he's probably looking to buy other companies, other landscape and hardscape companies. I don't know specifically, but if I were him, that's what I would be doing. Or
Companies.
or to sell his company and start a new one even more focused than he is now. That would be, if I'm sitting down with Chris as a consultant and he's like, Pete, where do you think I should be going with an economic boom coming? Either buying pool companies, landscape companies, irrigation, buying divisions, buying great people, educated people, and bringing them on board via acquisition, or let's sell the whole thing, let's start another one. And let's do it a little bit different this time. Maybe if you would change things, what would that thing be? So that's a really neat situation that he's in.
Yeah, I would agree. And the three, it's interesting. One of the questions I was going to have was talking about transferring from just being a landscaper, mowing lawns, spraying mulch, and getting into the hardscape area. What would you consider the three biggest pitfalls to be on the lookout for when you, as that, Joe Bob's Landscaping, decide that you're going to get into Joe Bob's Landscaping and hardscaping? And I think you just answered that question. You actually gave us 5. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
One of the things I also wanted to know, what are we looking at for 2025? I mean, we just had a at the very least, an unusual election. What was it like leading up to the election?
Well,
in
dialing
your-
back
in
to
your
pre-COVID.
market?
So 2019
Yeah,
pre-COVID.
good idea.
How
Good
do we
idea.
compare, do you think, as an industry, 2019 versus where we are now? Are we higher, or do we come back down post-COVID?
Definitely higher.
So,
Higher than 2019 before COVID.
so you
So
think
the-
that's a new base
The
that's...
baseline,
a new
is-
plateau
okay,
maybe?
gotcha.
Okay.
So there's been some where I would say it's more evening out now, but it's not tanking. It's
So we're not
dropping.
going back down to pre-COVID?
Okay.
No.
And you
Still
think it's a
lot
new
more
plateau?
hardscapes going out still, and even more coming. So there's confidence out there.
Yeah, there's no back down anymore.
Do you think we're at a new level?
I was a senior at the University of Maryland. This is a couple years ago. And I took a marketing class with Dr. Nichols. He wrote a book. It's very good on business and marketing. He is a 400 level marketing class. And he gets to know the students. And there's 100 something of us, right, in this class. And the fact that he gets to know people is really, really incredible. And again, fantastic book, fantastic definition of the word marketing and all that stuff. So he gets to know me a little bit, and it's dynamic, right? So I'm into it, right? I'm like, this is pretty cool. And he's like, what's your major? And I said, accounting. He said, you'll never make it. I said, okay, well, I'm a senior about to graduate with a degree in accounting. That's bad news that I'll never make it as an accountant. He goes, your personality, the way you talk to people, the way people gravitate to you and you to others. And he says, you need to get out of accounting as quick as you can. I said, all right, smart guy. What do you think I should do? He says, you should get into sales. I'm like, come on, no way. I don't sell. What would I sell? He said, sell the best product. Whatever it is that you're going to sell, make sure it's the best product. Mm-hmm. And interlocking pavement is the best pavement ever invented in world's history. It's the oldest and the best. Segmental retaining walls are the best structural retention structure, the best value, the best aesthetic, the best in terms of labor savings and efficiencies. Segmental permeable pavements are the best structural BMP, best management practice for stormwater management, snowmelt runoff, and agricultural runoff, which is a big deal with Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and Hershey, right up the street from us. Mm-hmm. Agricultural runoff is one of the #1 contributors to the pollutants of the Chesapeake Bay. So it's a big deal. It is the best structural BMP for stormwater management ever invented in world's history. You can drive tanks on it, tractor trailers on it. You can unload tankers and ports on segmental permeable rigid units in a flexible system with a pronounced joint that allows the water to run down through them. The environmental benefit of the microbial generation that eats heavy metals and nitrates and phosphates and all those petroleum distillates. I mean, there's actually microbes that build up in the horizons of a permeable pavement that eat petroleum. No different than the Exxon Valdez cleanup in Alaska. There's these microbes. I mean, it's just amazing. So is there a new plateau? I don't know. If you look at the growth curve of a product, any product, right? It's flat. Then you start this little upturn. And then eventually it becomes the norm. There's your plateau. Mm-hmm. Let's take disposable diapers, for example. Mm-hmm. This is an old economic example, like mm-hmm. guns and butter, right? Everybody used cloth diapers when I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
My mom used, and they were dirty mm-hmm. and disgusting, I'm sure. And she cleaned them and rinsed them and washed them in the washing machine and use them again. And then disposable diapers came out. Mm-hmm. And people were like, I don't have to clean it anymore. Right. And I can just throw it away. And you started to see that upturn, and it just skyrocketed. I mean, nobody in a first world, second world, maybe even some third world countries uses a diaper that needs to be washed anymore. And now they're in a plateau where there's more kids or there's less kids. And if you ask Elon Musk, there's not enough kids. I agree with him. Mm-hmm. We have a lack of population problem, not an overpopulation problem. There's a reason he's the richest, mm-hmm. most famous man in the world's history, because he's right, usually. But, I mean, nobody uses regular diapers. Everybody uses disposable. Mm-hmm. If you look at hardscaping, we're at the bottom. We're down here. We're not even started on that upturn yet. People don't know enough about the lighting, which is on the cover of our catalog this year, the clean and protect side of it, the feature side of it. One of the things we built for Showcase this year was a small rain harvesting system adjacent to an elevated herb garden, vegetable garden, foodscaping plot. Mm-hmm. Elevated because nobody wants to bend down on their hands and knees and garden. You can now sit 18 inches right on the Borealis wall, right, and turn and do all your gardening. And you don't have to run hoses out there because you have a rain harvesting system. I think ours is 500 or 600 gallons of good, God-given rainwater that we're going to be using to irrigate the vegetables and herbs, and then that's adjacent to a wood-fired oven where we're cooking with wood. All these sustainable, good for you, good for the environment, kinds of things. So I think I'll be Paver Pete until I retire. Mm-hmm. I'm not leaving. You guys aren't leaving. He's not leaving because most people don't know what hardscapes is yet.
Yeah, I think all of us in this room understand exactly the attraction of it, and it's and how good it really, really is. But if you're getting into the business and you're wanting to start a business, I can't think of a better business to get into. But it's more than just a lot of work. I mean, you've got 4 or 5 basic assets that you've got to acquire, okay, that if you don't do that, it's going to be a rough road
What do
to
you mean by
hoe.
assets?
The 4 to 5 things that you
Okay,
mentioned
all right,
there.
okay.
That's what I mean by assets.
Yeah. 'Cause I'm not big on buying. I'm great friends with the people at Caterpillar.
Oh, no.
They do a
that's-
great job.
No, we're not.
But if
you
I
know,
can rent it,
Sure.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, until I need to buy it, I'm gonna rent it.
Well, they're not all created equal. You mentioned it, Ryan, the capital management. We do, what do
Yeah.
you think? 3/4 of our business is commercial. It's not the residential market. So
Right.
it's municipalities, it's schools, it's universities. And they all, 100% of them get installed by contractors. We don't install a thing. And usually a GC gets employed by the university. They hire a subcon, and we typically will contract with a subcon.
Yep.
95%, you probably know where I'm going with this. 95% of them, they pay a deposit, and then we get our 50% upon close. When we're finished, we send them a nice proof of completion photo. We start packaging it up, and as soon as we get payment, we ship it, and then they do their work. A major portion of them, and these are subcontractors, hardscape installers that have been in business for 20 years, they won't pay us until they get the money, right? And I can't pay you yet because I gotta wait to get paid.
Yep.
That's not an example of good capital management. So what happens to their reputation in the eyes of PAVERART? We won't do business with them again, or we're gonna have to do business directly with the school because those are not our terms. Now, maybe we're a prick for doing that, excuse the
No.
language, but those are our terms on how we do business. So it might be a one and done thing. We might not ever see them again. But that's not a great way to run a contracting business, to not have enough capital where you can't meet the supplier's terms.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that, now maybe they're okay with pricing their product, but maybe not. Maybe that's kind of manifesting itself where they can't pay their bill and they got to stretch us out. And then it creates a bad slew of events. So I don't know if you have a perspective on that
I do.
scenario.
When I teach job pricing, it's typically GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. But every once in a while, I'll deviate from the generally accepted accounting principles and talk about the 3 Gs. The 3 Gs are growth, gut, and goofs. And growth is what you're talking about. If you plan on growing, and you plan on doing these municipal projects and installing the PAVERART compasses and some of the beautiful patriotic and religious things that you guys do, is just amazing. I'm a big fan of following you guys
Thank you.
on
Thank you.
LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. I need to budget money to do that. I need to budget money and have money sitting aside in money market accounts that's turning every 30, 60, 90 days. That way, when I need it to go do this commercial project, I have that money to do that. There's no delays. And you're gonna pay me a premium to do this work for you, but it's gonna be headache-free because I've got the growth budgeted above and beyond what I normally have in my overhead. I'm gonna have that money set aside. Gut instinct, God has us wired that when something's wrong, your mind sends an electrical pulse to your stomach releases acids, your stomach hurts telling you something's wrong.
Right.
And when you're bidding a job and gut tells you that you're about to make a mistake, you need to add a little bit of money to that job. You missed drainage, you missed geogrid, you missed edge restraint, something is gonna go awry. And goofs are, those goofy clients. And there's not many of them, thank God, but there are clients that, will speak poorly of other contractors in the marketplace and, say, oh, thank God you're here. That last contractor was a nightmare and this contractor was a nightmare, but you're here now as our savior. You're gonna make everything. Wait a minute, lady. Or sir. We met 7 minutes ago. You know what I mean? All of a sudden you have this unknown confidence in me and we haven't even built a relationship yet. So when I'm dealing with people like that, I'll add money to the job and, so I don't know what those dollar values are, and those are things that are not generally accepted accounting principles, but the one that relates to what you're talking about is growth. If you're in the number one growth segment of the construction industry, permeable pavement, and you're planning on doing more permeable pavements, you need a budget to grow.
Yeah, you better be growing. You better be growing.
You gotta have cash to get the right tool, to get a pave tool. They're constantly coming out with great tools. You need to be on the forefront of that. And some of them may not end up being used as others, but you gotta be on the forefront of it. You gotta have the money to invest in, we were talking about IQ power tools and dustless hole saws and dustless grinders and with HEPA particle vacuums. You gotta be on the forefront of that. You gotta be Table 1 compliant with the airborne respiratory silicates. And you gotta listen to your gut, and you gotta know when you're dealing with goofs. So just because the accountants tell you, here's the ledger, maybe there's a little deviation there that can help you overcome that.
Well, there's a,
Well, some of this is related to goal setting or not enough goal setting.
Yeah.
Now, from a financial balance sheet, strength of balance sheet perspective, I'm a contractor, and I ended last year with, pick a number, $10,000 in the bank in my working capital. Wouldn't it be nice next year to have $50,000 in the bank where I might have had a half a week's worth of expenses? What if I can bump that up to something greater than that? That goal setting mentality. Now, maybe of all the goals I have to set, financial strength and financial management is not on the top 3, but it might have to be, especially if we're going into economic headwinds or uncertainty. Stronger balance sheets are always better than weaker ones.
Yeah, mission and vision.
Right.
You gotta have a goal, you gotta have a plan.
Right.
And work that plan. And if those jobs that you like to do are the ones that include the compasses and we the people logos, which I know you guys are working on, is fantastic outside there. If that's your plan, is to install things like that and to promote and not wait reactively for general contractors and schools and municipalities to tell you, we got one coming up, would you like to bid building it? But hey, why don't you go to them and tell them, I'm partnered with PAVERART, I'm partnered with Techo, I'm partnered, let's get something going here. Let's do something amazing. We stopped at a diner this morning, had a pork roll,
Pork roll, egg and cheese.
A Jersey staple.
tailored ham,
Pork roll.
but we went in and gave them a catalog and said, this natural stone area you have is nice, but I mean, we could make it pristine and we could do it in permeable pavement and makes cleanup real nice. People sit outside, you can hose it down if they make a mess and they're like, oh, thank you. It's like
Smart.
We're going out and saying, this is a neat thing to do.
well, if you're taking what's interesting, when Mark came on and bought the business, it was about a little over 6 years ago. We at the time were in what I would consider to be survival mode, okay? And my definition of survival mode now is that you're slowly dying, okay? You don't know you're dying, but you're slowly dying. Mark came in here and basically waved the flag and said, look, if you're not growing, you're dying. And it sounds simple, but it's true. You can make money, you can hang on, okay, you can survive, but at some point something's going to happen, it's going to put you under. You've got to be growing at all times. And that growth can be in any one of 10 different areas, especially in the business that we have. And what we've learned since then, I mean, our growth in sales has been multiples every year, and it's made a big difference. The last time you were here, we were in one building. Now we're now in 2. We did this podcast the last time in a modified office with microphones on boxes. Now we have a studio room that we're growing, and it's made all the difference in the world. Now for somebody who's, again, a landscaper and makes that transfer and wants to make that transfer to hardscaping, I think the first thing they have to understand is growth is hard, and it hurts. And if you're not used to doing it, but you can get used to doing it. If you're not used to doing it, get used to doing it, because there will come a point where you're just not going to be around anymore. You've got to keep growing in some way, shape, or form. And then I'm not saying in leaps and bounds every year, but what you're learning, what you're being educated on, equipment, your team building of people, getting good people in the positions where you need them to take big responsibilities for you. And I'll tell you, it's made all the difference in the world over the last 6 years. And this company is not the same company it was when we started it. Absolutely not.
Congratulations.
So,
Well, thank you. Look, I think back to the contractor that might have a maintenance business that goes into
to hardscape and construction, you guys are putting on tremendous free education. You don't charge to go there, to the showcases. But you've had massive impact, hundreds of thousands of people. I'd love to know the percentage, but it might only be 10% of the world of contracting has shown up to one of these free events to invest in education. Maybe it's more than that, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'd be surprised if it was 70% of the world of contractors, just knowing who we talk to.
Exactly.
But why wouldn't you, is one question. Well, maybe they're running around, maybe they're too tight on resources, maybe they got that job and it's more important to get that.
They're worried about where the
$20,000.
next job's coming
They're
from.
worried about payroll, they're worried about all these things. But again, in terms of a list of growth and goal setting, you've got to be feeding in all those things that you ticked off. I mean, I think the majority are not doing that. They're not taking the education.
Look, it's hard work. I mean, you work 10 hours, 10, 11, 12 hours, and you're on that crew, and you're hoisting pavers all day long.
Last thing you need to do
Are you
is,
kidding me? Yeah. When you get home, the last thing you want to do is sit down behind your desk and go, okay, let's start planning for the future. I mean, you're freaking tired. I mean, I get that. I absolutely understand that. But if you don't do that,
Right.
is my point. If you don't do that, you're destined at some point. Failure's going to come. It's just a matter of time. Now, I don't mean to make that a blanket statement, but
Well, we know it's the number 2 most failed business. So there's a host
that
of reasons
certainly
for
helps
that.
support
Right.
the argument.
Right.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
let's talk about, because this is a business podcast, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about how you physically account for the time it takes to, and this goes back to the E-Myth series of books, you have to have a clearly defined salary spreadsheet. So if you're the president of your company, and the president of let's say your company does $500,000 in gross sales, if you're going to hire a president that works full-time running a $500,000 company, or a million, or five, whatever the number is, but typically we're talking 250 to 500 is where we start to have some of these real discussions on salaries. If I'm doing the president's job 5% of the time, and that to hire a president to run that company would be $100,000, that's $5,000. I need to pay myself $5,000 to do this 5% of the time.
Right.
What is this? Okay, now I got to go to LinkedIn. I got to go to Glassdoor. I got to go to name one of these sites. These Career Builder.
Indeed.
Indeed. Okay, great. Indeed. I got to go to all these sites and say, who's hiring presidents of companies? Print out their job posting and look at that job. Print 10 of them out. I'm a print guy. I don't work for the
Amen,
There's
brother.
comfort in that, isn't it?
Yeah, there is, yeah.
Amen,
And I'm
brother.
going to lay all 10 on this table and I'm going to say, I do that. Oh boy, I should be doing that. I should be meeting with my banker. I should be meeting with my attorney. I should be double checking quotes. These are things I should be doing that I'm not doing, and these are things I do. And that will consume 5% of my time. I need to get paid $5,000 to do it. Okay, next, I'm in sales, or I'm in estimating, or I'm in marketing, or I'm in admin, or I'm in accounting, I'm in people care. I call it people care. People call it human resource. Man, I hate that phrase. But I do all these roles. Okay, how much time do I spend in sales? 25% of my time. How much time do I spend in estimating? 5% of my time. How much time do I spend in marketing? 10% of my time. How much time do I spend in admin? 15% of my time. Well, admin, right? Opening envelopes, making phone calls, dropping things off at the bank. That only pays, $15 an hour. That's a $30,000 a year job. And if I'm doing that, 15% of that is $3,300. I don't know if my math is correct, but you get the concept. Well, wait a minute. I'm spending a whole lot of time, 15% versus 5%, and I'm getting paid less money. I wish I was president more of the time and admin less. And then you start saying, wait, maybe I can hire someone part-time to do that for me. And free myself up that 15% of my time and pay someone part-time to do it. Okay, good. How much time do I spend in accounting? How much time do I spend in people care, or human resource management? And you'll find most of these landscape, hardscape, masonry, these contracting companies aren't spending any time recruiting, retaining, retraining, reviewing candidates. I mean, the things, replanting people where they're more advantageous to your company. I call it the Re's. It's easy for me
That's
to
how you
remember.
remember it, yeah.
Yeah, but you say, okay, so now this person who owns this company, $500,000 in gross sales, is getting paid $45,000 a year. And you say, you can't live on that. Well, our expectation isn't that you live on that, because you're also a direct cost of producing the product. You're building on the jobs.
Yeah.
And when you're building on the jobs, you're an hourly rate. And, there's an additional $30,000 in pay. Wait a minute, you're also an indirect cost. You're supervising. You're managing teams. You're coaching people on a job site. That's an indirect cost of producing the product. You're hourly for that too. You also make sure that deliveries show up on time and that they're correct and things are staged around the job correctly. There's another $5,000. Okay, so now we're at $80,000, and you say, well, an $80,000 paycheck on a $500,000 gross sales is good. It's not great. How do we make it better? We know where we are. What's the next? This is 2024. Let's turn the page to 2025 and 2026 and start looking at these numbers and saying, how can I stop being the accounting person? I don't want to input things in a QuickBooks or Peachtree. Let me hire someone, a subcontractor who can do that for me. Let me go and say, Indeed, Career Builder, Glassdoor, LinkedIn, let me print out a bunch of bookkeeper type roles, print out 10 of those job descriptions, and let me hire somebody based on the compilation of those 10 to do that for me, so I can spend more time coaching people. I can spend more time marketing. I can spend more time selling. And there are great companies out there. One of them is a friend of mine, Aquascape.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, in St. Charles, Illinois. And Greg Woodstock, the pond guy, I'm a huge fan, has a great book on marketing. Everybody should read it. He is really great at marketing. He is a podcaster, a vlogger, a blogger, social media guru. So he hired a president of his company. And yes, he's the owner. He meets with the president regularly, but he focuses on what he's great at, which is marketing and a little bit of sales. And the company has exploded and is one of the most successful water feature companies in the world because he realized, I am better at this. I should be focused on this. I'll hire people to fill in those roles. An example would be Ed Ballou's, his rainwater harvesting guru. I think he's in Africa right now with the Aquascape Foundation building rainwater harvesting for people who need water to drink. And the conversion of harvested water to potable drinking water. An amazing man. It takes people care. It takes time for the pond guy to find a guy like Ed Ballou, to coach that person up and then give him the freedom he needs to succeed and then make the whole company succeed because of it. And it's just a great story of success. But this is the math along the lines of what you guys are talking about that every business needs to do. And if you can't do this, well, then you need to come to one of our seminars.
I was just going to ask you, is this the template that you teach?
Yeah. And we're unapologetic about it. The Techo Bloc family has given the representatives around the country, like, listen, let's go out there and challenge people to be better in accounting, in marketing, in selling, and if you go visit a landscape company that's not putting posts up on social media, who doesn't have a LinkedIn profile or an X profile yet, push them in that direction.
Well, you're apologizing like you get pushback from time to time. I can't believe you get pushback. Why would you get pushback?
About 75% of the time, I gotta say, contractors will tell me, I'm too busy to do social media, too busy to do this. And I was telling them, and they always, most of them say, they get their jobs based on word of mouth. And I'm like, well, social media is a new word of mouth. You're going to be losing soon.
Say that again.
Social media is the new word of mouth.
Yeah.
Do you think it's 75% of contractors or just the people that are
75% of contractors that I've noticed. And I run a
That's
pretty large
interesting.
territory.
That's very interesting.
they push back on social media?
Yeah, I don't have the time. It's the last thing they think of, but it's probably should be one of the most important things.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've talked about it, ideas and things. And
But even sales.
Is it resistant to change?
they just don't know how to do it.
Got it. So skill.
Well, time management is a huge part of that. When I was listening to what you were saying and breaking all that down, it sounded to me like not only is it doable within the time frame of your day, okay, but it's mandatory that you do this with your day, okay?
Yeah.
And if you don't do this with your day, you're going to be in survival mode forever and always. And nobody wants to be in survival mode.
Yeah.
So,
We want to thrive.
exactly.
Well, I think it is a matter of coaches, mentors, whatever you want to call it. You've got a clear skill in the hardscape social, you're inclined to do it, but you've also been working at it for a while.
Yes.
Me compared to you, I'm a hack, but I do it. I'll throw something up every day. It might be good, might not be good, but I'm not good at it, right? I could use some coaching.
I share your things, like the Saturn paper art you just produced was amazing. So we'll talk about that for years.
Saturn,
probably.
the planet with
Yeah.
the rings. Yeah.
Well,
Yes. Okay. Just
As opposed to the car that they're
Yes, yeah.
that they're not
Yeah.
making anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I think
That's fantastic.
Well, thank you, appreciate it. But it's easy to say that they don't have the time for it. But at some point, some people you just got to start. And even if you screw it up, and even if you I consider myself a
Bad
hack in this
content
area.
is still
But
good content.
that's exactly right.
if you read Grant Cardone's book, The 10 Times Rule, people call it the 10X Rule,
Yep.
but it's really the 10 Times Rule. And you read through it, what you're doing is exactly right. He says you can't overpost. You got to keep putting up pictures of the planet, pictures of the compasses, pictures of this. A word or two, a sentence or two, a hashtag or two, and you got to keep doing
Gotta stay at it.
and you'll improve. And we talked a lot about education
Yeah.
in this podcast. Reading is a big part of that. If you're going to be in business, then you have to have read the E-Myth Revisited, the E-Myth Landscape Contractor Edition. You have to have read the Checklist Manifesto. You have to have read Grant Cardone's The 10 Times Rule. I mean, and you can say, if this man can own, I don't know what he owns, and I'm going to guess he's a famous person, but 40,000 rental properties. Well, how did he do that? He just said, if I'm going to do this, I can do it 10 times harder. I can do it 10 times better. That's it. Like, I have made up my mind, back to Senna in my speech this evening, is he made up his mind that I'm a race car driver who's built to win. I'm not built to come in a second. Right? If you get that mentality, as opposed to the mentality of I'm too busy, and here's the Oz principle, the below the line things, the excuses.
Sure.
That it's another great book that people should read, the Oz principle. But let's get out of that below the line stuff and let's get above the line where we're taking accountability and we're saying there is time, and I'm accountable to my family, I'm accountable to my God. To tithe, I'm accountable to the team, the people that I work with, and I want to make their lives great. I know that you have a great, every time I walk through here, you're introducing me to 3 people I've met before, but thank you for the introductions again. And they're the same faces, and they love you and you love them. You can't hide it. That takes time and effort. That
No
takes,
question.
little gift cards every once in a while to the local bookstore.
Sure.
Or the grocery store or something, or the pat on the back or the great sweatshirt or something that they say, wow, these guys really like us. I like it here. It's nice to be around friends.
Nice to hear.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the people thing. So as you're breaking down I got 5% on admin, therefore it cost me $5,000. Maybe I try and figure out who can help me with the bookkeeping or whatever that role is. What are the people that we have to? What's the pipeline for talent that we have to bring into the industry? I'm assuming that it's not these 4-year college degree kids with no experience and maybe they don't have the grit. And I'm a little biased. I'll share with you my bias, but who are the people that we got to bring in to help these people become better business people and create a pipeline of talent? What do you guys do for talent?
For Techo to get people.
Yeah, they're a little
out?
different because you guys are a manufacturer.
Yes, I know we look at all aspects. I know there's a lot of people that come from the paint industry from our area,
Interesting.
like Sherwin-Williams.
Mhm.
There's a few reps from
Great
there,
company.
great companies. So
Sure.
for
But training ground type.
training ground where they've come from in the past. There's a bunch of ex-contractors too, and then there's just people that are business sales that we could teach anyone the hardscape industry.
You were in a big box
Yeah,
store
if
side.
they're willing to learn, they're gonna do great. So I was willing to learn, and Pete's taught me a lot, and I think I do a pretty good job.
Sure.
You do a great job. I would say that General George Patton had it right. You have to attack weakness. So if you're looking to bring people in, you got to find your weakest links and attack them. So you find that category that you're weakest in, whether it be accounting or people care or labor or project management or foreman or leadman or whatever. It could be production, it could be accounting, could be sales, could
Sure.
be estimating, could be design. company that I worked with in Pennsylvania as a contractor. The owner is a landscape architect, still in business, great company, but so talented that we couldn't have him spend his time doing designs. We needed to hire young design people, whether they came from a 2-year vocational training program or were self-taught, I'm fine with that, or they had a 4-year degree in landscape design or CAD or whatever. We didn't really care where they came from. We had a budget. We had a job description that was clearly defined from all those different platforms, and we brought in a young kid, and his name was Charlie, and he lives in Rhode Island now, still does landscape designs all over. And he would sit there, and me and the owner of the company would argue with him about where this goes and that goes in the landscape design, and
Sure.
and he would come up with 2D and 3D and animated and virtual reality designs that would just get people off of a $500,000 landscape package.
Sure.
So we figured out that was our weakness, even though the owner was a landscape architect, that we can't have him doing that because he's too important to the accounting side, being the president side, people care side, getting jobs started and ended really just pristinely. And he was so talented at those things that we needed him to be able to walk through the office. I was involved too, but and go, hey, move that around. No, we don't want those. We want to create some privacy. Let's get something a little taller and mix, deciduous and evergreens and stuff like that. Yeah. He says, look at this picture. This is why we want that. And that kid, not a kid anymore, Charlie, would just pick it up. So I think, however you're going to recruit, and we have a template for recruiting, through vocational schools and high schools and coaches and other businesses in the marketplace, because they have people that they need to replant. They have people that work for them that aren't performing, and they want to get rid of them. And you may have somebody that is not performing, that is a good person, has a good heart, has a good work ethic. It's not their fit, it doesn't fit them. So you can either replant them within your company or replant them with someone else's company. So you may have somebody that you say, what you would be great at? You'd be great at working at Pantano's or Risers or a Staff of Stone or any one of these great hardscape distributors in South Jersey, and there's a number of them, and they're hiring, and we think you'd be great at that, and we would hate to see you leave here, but why don't you give that a shot? Why don't we make the introductions, and if it's a good fit, you have a job here, but if it's a good fit, let's shake hands and part friends, and you go work there, and then you start spreading the word through those distributors and through us and other manufacturers, and saying, hey, if you guys have people or know people that could be working with us, and this is what we do, send them our way. Maybe they're working for you now, they're really not. That's not their thing. Let's get them in here. Let's get them a shot at working at PAVERART and succeeding.
Sure.
Yeah. And I'm a church guy. Going to the local churches and synagogues and mosques and spreading the word through the admin department at that place of worship and even speaking to the congregation. And I've had that opportunity a number of times where say, listen, we're looking for young at heart people who are sick of sitting in a cubicle. If you're contemplating suicide, if your life is horrible, if your skin has no sun to it at all, if your heart rate never gets elevated unless you're angry, come outside. We have a great time. We do really neat things, and yeah, they're physical, but that's good for you.
Yeah.
And the sun is good for you. And if it's really physical, there's a machine that does it. So you're not going to hurt yourself, and we have protocols in place, training in place to make sure that you don't. But let's get you outside. Let's get you away from that. Maybe you thought that computer was your life until you passed away, and it doesn't have to be. It could be, buyer for plants, and you go to these nurseries and you pick them up and you deliver them to the job site, and our team installs them. I don't know what the role is, but boy, that you're breathing in good air all day, at a garden center, and you're out there in rain and shine and snow, and
it's terrific.
And it's terrific. It is.
Terrific. Just
terrific. I could never go back to accounting.
You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, I could never go back to accounting.
Well,
so I think attack weakness. Find out what you're weak at. Fill that role first, And once that role's filled, then work your way up the ladder.
Let's assume for the moment that one of the weaknesses that a particular person has is a weakness for selling. Okay. By the way, University of Delaware, accounting major, right here. Okay. Never pushed a pencil my entire life. Okay. Got into production, got into operations, and then I was asked if I wanted to get into sales. And I jumped at the opportunity, but I didn't know whether I was going to be good or bad. Mm-hmm. That's the short history. Nobody, until you try it, you don't really know whether you've got that conversational tone. You and I have talked about this a lot. You don't know whether you have that conversational tone or not. You don't know whether you can connect with people or not until you actually get out there and do it. But back when I started, there wasn't much to read to teach you how to sell. First of all, it's hard to teach someone how to sell. You got to be able to talk.
It's a personality too.
Correct.
People were writing in stone back in those days.
That's
right?
Well, they weren't writing; they were
chiseling.
They were chiseling in stone. But yeah, that's great. Very funny. Very funny, Pete. Thank you. At any rate, no, I'm just kidding. At any rate, how do you teach someone to sell? You can teach them all those other things, but it's hard to teach someone how to sell. In my opinion, you may not be a good conversationalist. Okay, you may struggle with that until you get to do it for a year or two or five. But you can make up for that in other areas. You can make up for that in product knowledge, connections, the fact that you're following up with them. You're showing that you care. That type of relationship sales, whether you can speak well or not, generally will bode well for you. What's your opinion on that? How do you teach someone to sell?
Yeah, I think I'm going to disagree with you here in that I think it's a skill, it's a vocation, like any other vocation, like accounting is, and like marketing is, and like building things is.
Okay.
And the vocation starts with an understanding of what the process should be, and systems and processes. And you're a production guy. Any business has to have a process. So.
Right.
Let's give you an example. I'm, again, a $500,000 landscape company, and somebody wants a $3,000 walkway. I don't go to their house. There's no sales call for a $3,000 walkway. That's a Teams, Zoom, WebEx call, and a couple of emails. And you're either signing or you're not signing.
Gotcha.
And it's 100% upfront. If it's let's say $5,000 to $15,000 job, there's one visit, there's one Zoom call, or Teams or WebEx or whatever, some kind of digital call. There's 2 emails and a phone call. And that's the process. And you sign and you give us 50% and 50% or whatever the legalities are. If the job's $25,000 to $75,000, it's 2 visits. So you start with a process and you stick to that process every time. And that's important, because then we get to the cycle. And the cycle can be taught. The sales cycle can be taught. So, I'll use the words that are typically used, and I'll use my word. There's pre-qualification, being prepared for the call. Mm-hmm. I call it the respect phase of the sales cycle. It is disrespectful for me to come and talk to you about your business if I know nothing about your business. I need to do my research and ask questions on the phone and with SurveyMonkey and ask around. What's going on over there at this company. If I'm going to be a consultant, I have to be respectful of my own time, meaning I'm busy and I don't want to waste my time and I don't want to waste your time. So I may do my pre-qualification or my respect phase of the sales cycle and decide you're not right for me. And I'll call you back and go, I have a referral for you. Oh, I thought you were coming. Yeah. We build wood-fired ovens and saunas and these things, and you're looking for a 10x10 patio,
Sure.
Which is awesome, and that's awesome. We just don't do that. And we have companies in this market that do that. And when they get bigger jobs, they give them to me. And when I get smaller jobs, I give them to them. So that would be the first phase. And that can be taught. You can teach people to pre-qualify. The next phase is the qualification phase. And I call it direction. Having written questions that move the relationship forward. What questions are you going to ask? I don't walk in to a sales call where I've done all this research, the respect phase, and shoot from the hip. Those days are over. I have looked and thought and sat in private and said, okay, here's what I know about that client. Here's what I don't know and need answers to. And if I can get the answers to these questions, that will move our relationship forward. I can teach you that. And some of that is that open-ended questioning and, get them talking and
Probing needs,
probing,
yeah.
all those, I'm not a big psychobabble sales guy, person, but some of that, that kind of stuff. The next phase is, I call it trust. A lot of people call it rapport. And this brings me to what I wrote down up top here. People buy from people they like. That's a saying. I think that's wrong. People don't buy from people they like. People buy from people they trust. Liking somebody and being friendly with somebody, drinking a beer with somebody, and giving somebody $100,000 are two different things, right? So we want people to trust us, and trust takes time. It's an effort. It's something that can be trained. It's asking questions that are, like about your studies in accounting. I'm an accountant, you're an accountant. There's a mutual understanding there of gap and what we learned and why we decided that it wasn't correct for us. So right away we have, that understanding about what we're doing. And I want to talk about, a lot of people say you shouldn't talk about history and religion and politics and those money and those things are things that are off the table. I think that's wrong. I mean, it's who I am. Right? I wear it around my neck. I wear it as a red badge of courage. I want to talk about an economic boom. I think that's exciting. I want to talk to young people about being wealthy. I'm wealthy. I become wealthy helping people, and I give back to the community. My wife is very active giving back to the community. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about successes I've had and vehicles that I own or pistols that I bought or want to buy. We're talking about that on the way in. That is a way that I build trust with people. They go, wow, this guy's me. Mm-hmm. This guy has the same philosophies and the same worldview that I do and the same work ethic that I do and the same family values that I do. I'd give him $100,000. Because I got people I like, I'll drink a beer with them. I am not giving them $100,000. And I got people that, I don't really drink beer with them, but if they needed the money, I'd give it to them. Because I trust them, and I know where their heart is, and I know where their mind is, and I know that they would work their hands until there was nothing left to repay me. I know that, and I'll give them my money. And then we move to what people call the educated and informed phase of the cycle. I call it learning. Helping people learn why they're going to pay me a bunch of money to build something for them in their yard. And here's how it's going to go from the use of type S hydrated lime in the clay soil that changes the positive negative attraction of the water molecule to the clay particle and rearranges it, increasing the bearing ability of that clay so that our thickness of base doesn't have to be dug to China. It can be more shallow, bringing you a better value. How I'm going to achieve 98% standard Proctor density with a Weber CR6 with a Competrol sensor on it. I want them to learn it because they're going to say, listen, husband and wife sitting there together, we got to hire that guy. He's crazy. And he's going to build us something that's going to last. He's going to build us the Great Wall of China. He's going to build us the Appian Roads in our backyard, and it's going to last. And when we sell, it's going to be a great value to our sale and a great asset to the homeowners who are the new homeowners of that property. So that's what I call learning. In sales, there's a lot of books on this. I don't recommend a single one of them. On closing. I think it's the worst word in sales. I mean, we haven't even started doing it. We haven't picked up a shovel yet. Nothing has happened, and we call it close. It's terrible. I just call it helping them buy. We have a Techo Pro program. What do we call it? The financing?
Yeah, pave now, pay later.
Pave now, pay later. And I'm a car guy, a fan of automobiles and motorcycles and trucks and stuff like that. And I read a lot about it. And a lot of people say Henry Ford's the most influential person in automotive history. Maybe it's Elon Musk now, right? I mean, kind of a catching up to old Henry Ford. I think that's wrong. I think it's Mellon, the banker, who really changed the automotive industry, and that you could now finance and get a car, a little bit better.
Sure.
And you could buy one for your spouse And that's what really changed the automotive industry, not the production line at the River Rouge plant, even though an amazing man, and I'm a big fan of Henry Ford's and what he did, but helping them buy. And then, the last phase, people will say is follow-up. I say that's just some kind of weird word. Let's make sure they're happy. I mean, we do jobs that are amazing, and we never see those people ever again. How dumb is
how
that?
many times have we talked about that? Yeah, exactly.
Go make sure they're happy.
Yeah.
We finished a job in Delaware with a great contractor for our showcase filming this year, and we brought in a chef that from North Jersey, fantastic, so talented, cooking on the wood-fired oven. So we're building this little. I got videos to show you. We had spare ribs cooked at 800 degrees in a cast iron pan with peppers and onions. They're the best spare ribs I've ever had in my life. He cooked steaks, eggs, bacon, vegetables. It was, pizza too. Yeah, I get it, wood-fired oven, people call it a pizza. It's an oven. But I don't think people understand that cooking in your home at 350 degrees in an oven is not killing the bacterias and the crap that they put in our food. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you, you put a cast iron pan in at 800, 900, 1,000 degrees, it's caramelizing the sugars, and it is killing any of that crap that they put in our food to kill us, right? No offense to anybody, but you get a spare rib out of that. We literally, me and the team, he's part of the education team too at Techo, we were literally burning our mouths. The guy's like, wait. We can't. We're like, we can't wait. And to take a homeowner who just invested a lot of money into their backyard and saying, let's make sure you're happy. Let's bring a chef in. Let's show you that this is not just a pizza oven, but it cooks any meal you want, anytime you want. It gets up to temperature in 30 minutes. It stays at temperature. It's a Italian Forno oven. It's the only one that we sell. It's the best one.
Great concept, Mark.
Oh, it's just awesome.
Good.
So can I coach somebody on how to sell? Well, I can help you establish a process, and the cycle never changes.
Right.
So we just got to follow it every time. We always have to be respectful. We have to ask questions and move the relationship forward, build trust, help them learn, help them buy, make sure they're happy, and we'll be so damn busy. And our prices can keep going up, and homeowners will be happy to pay them because you're on time, it gets done right, and you'll be here to service them in the future and build more for them at that house or the next house they buy. So you can teach them.
Great answer.
Wait a minute, I would also read The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino.
I've heard of the book, never read it.
Yeah, he has a whole series of books, but read The Greatest Salesman in the World. It's a habit book. About creating good habits to be a great salesperson. Little Red Book of Selling is another one, but
Gittimer? Jeffrey Gittimer?
Yeah, it's a very good book. And there's a lot of trust-based sales books out there that I'm a fan of. And anything with trust-based sales in the title, buy it.
Well, you guys are business to business for the most part, correct? You deal with homeowners, but you're selling to distributors and you're selling to businesses, as are we.
Right.
Although we do sell a lot direct to homeowner, but I would boil it down a little simpler. You two guys are great examples. You walk in the door, every time I ping you, you give me 2 or 3 ideas. You rattled off 3 ideas before you were 2 minutes in the door. That's, as a salesperson, that's valuable. So when you call up and say, hey, Pete's in town, you want to do a podcast? Well, hell yeah, we will. Why wouldn't I, right? But that's not normal. The generosity of spirit and a creative problem solving is not a given in sales.
That is not normal at all.
But it's like basic table stakes 101. If you're in sales, you better help them with their business somehow.
Yeah.
It could be a connection. It could be someone I want to put you in touch with. And salespeople tend to have Rolodexes, right? You've got connections, as do you, as do we for different areas. If you're generous and you're sharing that, you're a leg up in sales. Because believe it or not, that's not that common, I don't think. We deal with a lot of salespeople.
Sure.
They have to fight to get in the door here. You guys have kind of an open door because of, number one, your company, your brand. But at its basic core level, we know we're going to get good ideas. You're going to be generous with your time and your spirit, as I think we are with other people. But it's not a given in sales.
Here's another book, Patrick Lencioni's Getting Naked. That's exactly what you just described.
Yep.
That book, Getting Naked by Patrick, any of one of his books, very easy to read. They're stories, but and he's got a couple that are very famous. This isn't one of the famous ones, but it's what you said. It's being generous with your time and caring about. You may have somebody on your floor that needs to be replanted, and as much as you need them and need people to work here, you're growing them to succeed elsewhere too.
Sure.
That succession plan. It may be to take your role so that you can do other things, and it may be out. But when we're at H&A, and there's been people that have left Techo. I've been here 21 years, and they come back. They're respectful. They're kind. They speak highly of Techo Bloc. Mm-hmm. They speak highly of the education and learning that they got here, and we're happy to see them, and they're happy to see us. That is so important to sharing that knowledge, knowing that they may leave, versus the alternative, which is not sharing knowledge and helping people.
And they stay.
And they stay.
Right.
You stole my thunder, but yeah, that's right.
Well, I just have one last question. Hardscape Contractors of America, HCA.
Yep.
Big Facebook presence. And Mark and I, we graze Facebook from time to time. You're on Facebook all the time because you post stuff, and I'm on there liking and sharing it and putting in the occasional comment. But I see the HCA guys, and we know Rob, but it's interesting to read the comments on jobs. Somebody will post a picture of something, whatever that picture might be, and whoever's product it is. And you get 35 responses.
All different.
Every one of them is different.
It's a feeding frenzy.
It's exactly right. It's almost like sharks in the water. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm wondering if there's value in that. I guess there is. I guess there is value in that because they get to share information, that sort of thing. But I don't know of any other. Is there any other? We used to call them chat rooms and stuff like that.
There's other groups. The Facebook groups, but this is the biggest one, and a lot of people see it as the one that helps people out, people that ask for advice. Yeah, and sometimes people do get attacked on it, and that's unfortunate. Sometimes it does happen, but I know sometimes contractors will tag me to get my 2 cents, and whether it's about our product or about installation or social media, they'll tag me or Tap House or Pete or Rick. And Mike Day, yep. And if it's something that we feel that we can share, I'll share it. And I'm going to be not biased towards Techo, nothing like that. It's just still helping out.
Sure.
I don't see many other reps doing that though. Outside our industry.
I think the key,
which was where I was going with this. I don't see any other reps besides you. So, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think the keyboard tough guys can shut up. You know what I mean?
Amen.
Let's just disregard them.
Yeah.
So if there's 30 comments and 20 of them are good and 10 of them are the keyboard tough guys and girls, whatever, I mean, that are just beating people up, I just disregard those, delete. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is managed by the host of that group. So I see some of those disappearing. But a rising tide lifts all boats. So Hardscape Contractors of America, and we're fans of that.
Sure, as are we.
Participate,
yeah.
And sometimes even I'm a senior guy in the industry, and some people I'm just like disregard, and then something good will come up, and I'll get to interact with a few people on a really positive level, and I go, that's why I like it.
Right.
And that's these keyboard tough guy, big X. I don't, whatever.
But it is a feeding frenzy, especially when bad quality comes up. They'll post a picture. And you don't get 35, you get 150 within an hour.
That's true.
And it's a feeding frenzy, right? And the first thing I think of it, I'm a manufacturer, so I take the other side of it generally. Mm-hmm. Now, I feel for the guys. I think it was a wall block post where the height was different, and they're all talking about how to correct it.
I know exactly which one that is.
So this is memorable, and I'm like, and everyone's piling in, and I'm like, and then I don't think they ever talked about the brand, or at least I didn't see it. But I'm like, but imagine being a rep for that brand. And that's the contractor. I'm thinking, number one, I feel bad as if I'm the rep. Why didn't he call me? And we could have worked through this thing. Number one. Number two, I'm thinking, does that contractor not have a relationship with his brand? Why is it going shouted out? Maybe it's vented. Maybe it's all these things. Keyboard tough guys, keyboard warriors. It's all of that. But then I'm thinking, all right, well, what do you expect? It's a free group. It's not worth a cup of coffee if you're not paying. If you don't have skin in the game and you're not paying $30 a month, $40 a month, you're going to get the feeding frenzy, right? There's not a lot of value with 150 comments, and 130 of them are bashing everybody in the industry, you know? So I'm starting to go through. I'm like, man, boy, this, and it sucks you in. Everyone loves to bitch. Misery loves company. But it's kind of like
I don't want to bitch.
It's toxic. I think it's
that's
toxic.
below the line Oz principle stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
More accountability. How can I help that individual improve?
Amen.
There's dimensional intolerance in any retaining wall. We're the best in the world at it with lasers and microwave sensors and precision machine height gauges and all that kind of stuff. But we're not perfect. Only God's perfect. So are there solutions to that plus or minus an eighth of an inch that ASTM 1372 allows for in a segmental retaining wall block? We're way better than that, but are there dimensional intolerance? Yes. Is there ways to address it? Yes. Let's, back to the Pareto principle, or let's talk about the 20% represents 80% of the value.
Right.
And it works almost every time.
Sure.
So if there's 150 comments, then 30 of them are valuable. Let's look at the 30, throw away the 120, and focus on, what they're talking about in terms of, diamond grinders with HEPA particle attachments, or different types of non-biodegradable shims that are available that, can be done quickly and prepared in advance for that corner. When we package corners separate, which is rare, usually our blocks come with corners, but we make them a little bit light. They're a 16th thinner. So there's a little bit of a dab of adhesive or a little square of grid that goes into that corner. It's a great production strategy. It's always easier to shim up than grind down on a corner, and no one wants their wall to look like the bow of a boat sticking up on the corner. Bow. Right?
Yeah, bow.
Yeah, okay. I'll take the 30 comments, whether it's paid or not, I don't know, but, and I'll comment on occasion where I see, wow, that is a genuine question. I'm going to throw my 2 cents in because I, have 30 years of experience, and I've been on jobs all over the world and work with some of the best contractors in the world. And I want to put my 2 cents in there, and I'll usually get a comment like, thanks, Pete. I'm like, yeah, dude, yeah, that's cool. And it might not even be our product. And I'm just like, listen, here's how I address it. Here's how I learned from this contractor in Dallas, Texas, or this contractor in Arizona. This is what I learned using a block that's similar to that one. Maybe it's one that we produce or not produce. I might throw in, hey, use our products next time, but you'll be happy with it. But
well, let's tie this back to what we started the conversation with, number 2 most failed business in the world, or in the country, right? You're a social media expert.
Yep.
150 comments, 80% of them are negative, let's say. Are those 2 in the same ballpark of that's not a productive use of people's time? Or give me your riff on that.
I can tell you there's a lot of the contractors that I speak to that are on there that apparently have time to comment and read all that, but they're not taking time and making their own posts for their companies.
Right.
That's interesting.
I know
Good
a lot
point.
of guys on there, and I don't have time. Well, you clearly do. You don't have to be doing this. You can be marketing yourself, not bashing someone else.
Doing one of those 5 things that Pete was talking about.
Agree with you, I think. And that's kind of a tough message to send, though, in a Techo showcase or wherever. But if we want to grow and survive, don't we have to confront that dirty reality right there of that situation?
Yeah, that's an individual talk to the person.
Sure.
So,
Right.
you need to buy those guys Atomic Habit
yeah.
and say, listen, your time management skills, or Eat That Frog is another great time management book. But if you have time to sit there and be a keyboard tough guy, then you need to better manage your time. And
Right.
you need to put it on a list and start checking off boxes as you accomplish things during the day. And I even write that way. Eat That Frog you can read it in one sitting, and it will coach you through better time management and prioritizing. If you have to eat a big ugly frog, you might as well get it done in the morning.
Right.
You might as well get it done first thing in the morning.
Well,
Don't let it wait.
Let's do some randoms here if we can. Election year we just got through. You mentioned we're on the precipice of an economic boom. Give me your thoughts. I heard a lot on also the contractor groups that we're in an election year, so people are holding back money on spending, and there's a lot of uncertainty.
That definitely happened this year. People
You
held
think so?
back, especially as they got closer to the election.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, like October was people were telling me how dead it was.
Okay.
Dead.
So it's real.
Yeah, and then I can tell you the day after the election, I got calls from contractors saying that people opened up all of a sudden, and one guy signed 2 jobs the same day.
Really?
People that were waiting for basically 2 months, and they said, okay, I'm ready to go.
Interesting.
So it's,
So you think there's a direct relation? Yeah.
yeah,
So
every
that's real.
4 years I always see this trend.
Okay.
So it's more, yeah, definitely right after the election,
And does it matter who's
planning
in,
purposes.
or is it just the fact that the thing's over?
I think it's more so it's over, but I think it grows even more now. People they see Trump as a small business company, and it's great for small businesses. I had one gentleman tell me that if the other people got in, it was going to be a lot of the still same, that he didn't think he'd be in business in 4 years.
Got it.
Because of illegals, pushing the dollar value of their installs lower and lower, and then them maintaining their cost and their margins, and they just not getting jobs because of that, because so many people are so low. And,
Well, let's not fool ourselves. The markets have spoken. It's very clear that the person that got in has driven the markets to new highs. I mean, you can't
Record highs.
you can't argue with the Wall Street
Well, I
Journal.
think more so than him getting in, it was convincing.
Yeah,
we're not
that
in a
helps.
6-day
That's-
account.
that helps.
That's the most important
That's the
thing. That
best
it was a clear
qualifier
winner.
right there. That's the
Yeah,
best,
that
that's
was
the best
amazing.
qualifier.
Yeah.
Whether you're a Trump person
Yeah,
or not.
the fact that it was a clear winner was a huge
Whether you're a
signal.
Trump person or not, I can show you very specifically how my investments increased in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when in fact, pick any other 2 days of the past year, nowhere near did your money do anything in 2 days
Mm-hmm.
at
3
any.
years.
Yeah, amen, brother. So it's.
But it's not just small businesses, it's big businesses. Look at
Oh, sure.
Stellaris, the parent company of Jeep and
Yep.
Chrysler. They laid off 1,600 people in Toledo, Detroit area, which is kind of the same that Ohio and Detroit very close together. And they're back to we're making Chargers again and Challengers again, and we're making Hellcats and Red Eyes, and
Oh, yeah.
like they just announced, like, wait a minute, this EV kickback and all this government involvement in what cars people produce
Sure.
is changed. So there are some CAFE emission standards still, but they're back to making cars people want to buy.
Oh yeah.
They're back to making V8 Cherokees, at Stellaris, and they're going to be making them not far from where I live in Toledo, Ohio, and I'll be driving down there to get one as soon as it comes off the line. I'm excited.
Well, you're right in the middle of that. You are literally in Toledo. You are in the middle of everything car related.
Oh yeah,
North, west, south, east.
Yeah.
You are right in the middle of that.
Ford,
So,
GM, everybody.
the stamping
Toyota.
the stamping plants alone. It's incredible the amount of.
I think the steel industry. My wife's father came from the steel industry, or grandfather from the coal. But I mean, they were talking about selling U.S. steel to a foreign company, and that's all stopped. And we're looking at back manufacturing steel in the United States under LTV or U.S. Steel or whatever they were. And you go to Bethlehem Steel, not far from here, and see the remnants of the greatness that won World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, which was a victory, the Paris Accords, and Richard Nixon's ending that conflict. But the success came from a lot of those steel mills and
right.
a lot of those automobile plants making planes, making tanks. Where I live in Cleveland, Ohio, the IX Center was a tank manufacturing facility. Now it's a concert hall, but it has 6-foot thick concrete floors.
Same with Same with Bethlehem.
Yeah, that's
And
it. That's
Nazareth.
it. And that I mentioned him earlier, Thomas Sowell, a student of Milton Friedman's, not Milton Friedman, no. The economist from the University of Chicago, his name will come to me in a second, but you read Basic Economics from Thomas Sowell, and you'll know instantly that when you free people to invent and create and employ and risk capital like you were talking about, they'll do it. They'll do it. They'll better themselves. They'll better their families and the people that work for them. You just have to release that entrepreneurial spirit in people, and they will absolutely dominate the economy. And it'll mostly be small business, but you're going to see the Stellaris,
Sure.
the Fords,
They're gonna benefit.
the big manufacturers around North America that are going to just explode as well and employ as well. And they're going to be fighting for skilled employees, whether they come from some of the 4 years or 2 year vocational schools or training centers or high school. And they're going to be looking for young at heart people. And it's going to be great for us. It's going to be great for everybody. I'm excited to be a part of this economic boom at Techo Bloc.
Well, we'll have to.
And how much have you guys have grown over the past 5 years?
Oh, dear God.
You guys have multiple plants. I think since the last time
Yeah.
you came, you opened up a plant, did you not?
Yeah,
Or-
in Toronto, mega
Yeah.
plant, yeah. 2-machine plant, probably the most advanced manufacturing facility in the world.
Nice, congrats.
Not probably, definitely. The product on the cover, the industrial flora, where we have the ability to granitex or shot blast different textures and patterns, and we can even do custom inlays and different styles in the units for some of the larger commercial projects. Taken off like wildfire. People putting these accents around their fire pits, around their kitchen islands. The concept of having a rug on your patio now that is made of the same product that it's surrounded with.
Love that concept.
Oh, it's just
That's-
absolutely, that facility, you can build a paving stone plant for, I'm gonna guess, I'm not that involved in production anymore, but, $7 to $10 million. That's a $50 million plant. I mean, there's nothing. It's the
Yeah,
Cadillac,
it's-
it's the Lexus, it's the Porsche, it's
Best
name
of
it.
best.
It's the best of the best, and we have the best of the best team up there. We have some of the great team members from the Pennsylvania facilities and the Illinois and Indiana facilities that are helping get that plant commissioned. Helped get it; it's fully commissioned now, and so you take all the knowledge, Illinois, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Montreal, and converge them into the best plant ever built in the world. And it'll probably be that until we build our next one. My guess is it'll be in the South or in the West, California and Texas or something like that, or Florida or Georgia, somewhere down there. But you bring the best people into the best facility, and you're going to get that on the cover of that catalog.
Yeah.
You're going to get tornado,
Well,
hardscape tornado.
Well, impressive, congrats.
a little.
Yeah.
Really impressive.
Yeah, it's exciting when somebody gets delivery of the material at their house and they put a post up.
Yeah.
Well, to
They're
your point,
opening their
on,
pallets, like they're excited.
you have an owner not afraid to invest capital,
Oh
that
no!
believes in the market,
Oh,
that
please.
believes in the brand,
And
that
it's
has a
people.
team,
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's right.
and you're not
Yeah.
run by a mega corporation
No.
overseas.
No.
So
and
that all
not,
matters.
sometimes that's a benefit. In our case, it's not. Having a family that and a family that treats the team as family. And we have R&D meetings, and we argue like we don't like each other, but we do. And from the, our marketing department is run by Alex Cadu. He does a great job, and we debate regularly, and he debates with these guys. I don't think that's right. Well, we don't think you're right, and back and forth, and
That's
out
good.
of it,
That's healthy.
great discussion comes.
Right. That's healthy.
And we have an entrepreneurial spirit. Even though he's the head of marketing and I'm the head of the education department, and Bob and James are the head of sales, we don't look at it like we're an employee of this thing.
Yeah, you're the head of the education department, but you're selling every day.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
you're
right.
selling every
And marketing
day.
every day, and
That's
giving
exactly right.
production and operations feedback that makes them better, and they're open to it. It's yes, there's an owner, but we all act like owners. We all act like, when the owners aren't in our midst, then we're them.
When we first started, there was no Techo Bloc here.
Yeah.
Okay, we've been around 21 years, and when the Penn Argyll plant was opened,
Penn Argyll, yeah.
Penn Argyll, I
Say water.
oh God, we're not going to.
Water.
Hello, we're on the air. I'm just kidding. The Charles, I got a call into him, and he said, "Please come up. I want to," because he knew of our product,
Yeah.
because he was marketing a similar product that was coming out of Canada.
Yeah.
Okay, and he said, "Come on up." let's talk. So I went and I visited him, and the plant had just been built. Maybe they got online 10 months earlier before I got there. And he took me through the plant, and I could not believe what I saw. Okay, at the time,
Oh, yeah, it was
That
just
was-
one machine then.
yeah, but at the time, that was state of the art. I mean,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was state of the art.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can imagine what this new plant that you're talking about, which leaps and bounds. probably.
Robots,
Yeah.
automation.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, it's badass.
But what I could tell was, I didn't know Techo Bloc from the Man in the Moon, except that they had a competing product. And by the way, that competing product is no longer,
Yeah, they're defunct, yeah.
they're defunct. But at the end of the day, I got out of that meeting with him, and he took me through he gave me a tour. You could tell from the way the man spoke that this company was going someplace. And he didn't sell me, he showed me, and he explained to me, and he educated me. And it was probably the best hour meeting I ever had with any owner, or owner, but a person of his type in a business that, and I've done it with several of them. He was terrific, and I knew this company was going someplace. And this was before you started even establishing all the distributorships
Yeah.
that you had opened up.
Yeah, that's when I started working here,
There you go.
21 years ago.
And then all of a sudden, you wake up one day and, my God, Techo's everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then these come out. They come out with these when we were
Nice
looking.
inexpensive catalog.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
But the Techo spec book is constantly being opened here. But there's and I'll leave you with this example. This is how you sell your product. I know the product. I know it very well. When we were doing our patio, and I knew, again, we'll bring up the Sabatino, but the Sabatino, Delaware Hardscape and all that, they've got, Techo is one of the products that they distribute. And Chris talked about that. That's the only thing Chris talked about. Okay, you're either going to do, for your backyard, Mike, we're going to do, we suggest either Flagstone or some Techo product. It depends on what you want to do. My wife and I talked about it, and I showed her that book, okay, Inspiring Artscapes. And it was as if she was transfixed for the next hour. She just went through every page. She looked at all the colorings. She looked at the sizes. She looked at the styles. And I think it was the presentation more than anything else that really caught her. And that's what we settled on. We're not going to do, the natural stone or anything like that. We want to do a Techo product, and that's what we're going to do. So, well, it's, again, we're not setting the world on fire. The patio would be like 20 by 25, something like that. But you could tell she was taken in by that, okay? And she's seen every catalog from every company that we've ever bought product from. That was the one that,
Yeah.
she really took to. So
Yeah, there are some good companies
congrats
out
on
there.
that. Oh, there are. There's
Yeah.
no question about
Yeah,
it.
they keep us honest too. Good manufacturers
You have
out
to.
there that do a
You
great
have to.
job.
Sure.
So,
And that's awesome. And
Well, if the pie grows, everybody wins.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what basically
Great
what we're
point,
saying.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
you still
great
were in the
point.
early innings of this industry, correct?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's go back to the growth curve
Right.
and diapers or whatever I was talking about.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. There's some great companies out there. We're playing our game.
yeah.
We're clean, modern style. We do have some rustic. We have, some other styles as well. But, we are pushing the industry forward on probably the best landscape design guide in the world is that catalog right there.
It's fantastic. So what else have we not talked about that deserves some airtime?
Good question.
From your perspective. Now, you got married.
Yes, I did.
So how does that change the world? Being married versus-
Congratulations.
So you were not married on the first podcast, now you're married. So how does that change the world?
Got a beautiful wife.
Yeah.
Happy. She forces me to relax, so I don't always talk about work constantly.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's a shame.
We did a great project with you guys, and thank you again for that. Us getting our minds together, figuring that out.
Creative.
Creating the three-dimensional table numbers for the wedding.
Really cool idea.
That was out of our
Yeah, it
Borealis
was-
product.
The wood texture,
The
plank
wood texture
stones.
plank stones. That's our
Yeah.
color that the Riviera color, basically the color of our Yep, for our wedding, so it was
Yeah.
slate gray.
How was the reaction when you had that displayed on all the tables?
Anyone that was from Techo was extremely excited.
Sure.
And sending messages to the owners. So,
A biased audience, though.
Yep.
My pen is at the ready.
Yeah, for orders, yep.
Yep, and I
Just
had,
kidding.
after posting online, I did have some wedding vendors and people reach out to me about who did that and how can they potentially look into doing it. And our wedding planner, that was Janine, she says that she's never seen anything like that before, and she's doing it for 40 years, and she said they're one of the best.
Yep.
So
That's
great.
cool.
That's
we
fantastic.
love it, and we took whatever leftover numbers and gave them to our family members with their home addresses, so they would
Oh,
display
there
them
you
out
go.
front.
As a favor? Cool.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So I have mine out front, and my parents and Tony Ann's parents have theirs as well.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Oh, good for you.
It was a
Thank you again.
spectacular wedding.
I'm sure.
Yeah. If anyone questioned whether he loved the people that he invited, those questions were answered that day.
Oh,
It was
I
a
can imagine.
fantastic event. You knew you were among people who loved you. Thank you for the invitation.
No problem. Hope you got enough string contact.
Yeah, I sure did. Yeah, it was something. Great family, both sides, and it was a neat thing.
Well,
awesome.
I'd have to say, in my opinion anyway, this second podcast is probably better than the first one. This one, I'm really glad you guys came today.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
It's always a pleasure.
Appreciate that. We know,
Appreciate the friendship.
Same here. It's
friendship-
always inspiring with both of you.
absolutely, the friendship is there, and I feel bad that you're gonna go and speak for 2 or 3 more hours, west of here, or I'm sorry, east of here, at Pantano's. Well, good luck tonight with
Thank
all
you
that.
very
So,
much. We appreciate it.
Good job, gentlemen.
And again, thanks for having us.
all right, folks, thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Again, Hustle or Bust podcast, powered by PAVERART. Have a good day. Thank you.